So OnePlus has a budget range called Nord. Nord has its own budget range called Nord CE. And then Nord CE has a budget range called the Nord CE Lite. And this is the third version of that. Now, the best part about OnePlus is that they give you everything in the box. The charger, a cable, a pre-applied screen protector, and even a protective case. I mean, it is their budget category, but at least they're not acting cheap. Now, this phone is all set for super battery performance, super fast charging speeds, and a processor that offers a very balanced blend of performance and efficiency. But there are some things that you will be giving up on if you did get this phone. We'll talk about that. The first thing you notice when you take the phone out are the camera islands and a very unique mix of materials used to design this phone. So this camera island approach has become quite popular, right? The Zenfone 9 and then some Oppo phones have it, and so does this now. The whole thing is not the cameras though, and I'll talk more about it later. But the other thing is the materials. So the back is a glossy plastic, which, by the way, huge fingerprint magnet and very reflective. Also, the sides have this sandstone texture to it, and so it has this very interesting feel when you hold it. I mean, your palm feels a smooth glossy plastic at the back, but your fingers feel a rough sandstone texture. Bottom line, they've tried something new here, and you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. Other than that, standard stuff. You get a 3.5mm headphone jack, flat rectangular sides, dual speakers with 200% ultra volume, 5000 mAh battery with support for 67W fast charging, and a hybrid SIM tray. Just one thing to note though, the edges have developed a bit of scuffing because I've been keeping it on the table and I've been using it without any case. So you might want to use the case. Just something to know. Now, it's got a 6.7-inch display. That does make it a big device. Although, quite frankly, it doesn't feel as bulky, and it's surprisingly very well balanced. But sure, one-hand use is definitely a stretch. I mean, it is a big phone, and I do have small hands. They've also added an ultra loud speaker in here that has an ultra volume mode. So at very high volumes, I mean, it may not be of great quality, but it's definitely going to be one of the loudest sounding smartphone in a room. Now, this phone also supports multiple 5G bands, and I'm getting between 500 and 600 Mbps on my Airtel 5G Plus, which is frankly more than my broadband speed. In fact, I opted in for the introductory offer that Airtel is running, wherein you can get unlimited 5G data. I mean, what more do you need? Alright, let's talk about that display. It's a 120Hz adaptive screen, but an LCD display, not AMOLED. And it's got a typical brightness of about 550 nits and peaks at 680 nits. But this surely isn't the best display in this price segment. I mean, there are other phones that offer, AMOLED displays, more brightness, and even HDR displays. So this display is decent at best. I mean, if you do use your phone a lot outdoors, I'd say you should consider a brighter phone in general. There's also no in-display fingerprint sensor. Actually, it's the power button that doubles as a physical fingerprint sensor. I don't mind it. I think it's very fast, very convenient, and it just works. And yeah, there's obviously the face unlock too, which works very fast. Okay, now let's talk about performance, and this is tricky. So they've used the same processor that they did in Nord CE2 Lite last year, which is the Snapdragon 695, which means technically they've not upgraded the chip in this phone at all. But despite all of that, it is still a very competent processor in this price segment in 2023. I mean, there's absolutely no concerns in regards to daily performance, opening and closing of apps, multitasking, or playing games. Like here, I'm playing Call of Duty on high graphic quality and high frame rate, and absolutely no issues. It works like a charm, no lag, and multiplayer performance is on point. The response to touch is amazing, the phone doesn't heat up even when gaming for longer duration, and it doesn't suck up too much battery either. There's also a gaming mode that optimizes your gameplay experience, so you can choose between various modes based on how much performance you want. There's a championship mode that completely tunes up your phone for the most uninterrupted gaming session with no outside interference. I mean, it's got some serious gaming tools, that's all I can say. And yes, there are some phones that do provide you with slightly better performing processors within this price segment, or maybe at a slightly higher price point. There's the Snapdragon 778G, there's a Dimensity 920, but very frankly, the performance of all of these processors are round about the same. And I really don't think you're missing out on a whole lot of performance with the 695 either. In fact, the Snapdragon 695 is a lot more battery efficient than the two processors. Okay, now let's talk about those cameras. So let me give you a close look at the two camera cutouts. One of them has a 108 megapixel lens and the second cutout has a 2 megapixel macro lens and a 2 megapixel depth assist sensor. But those are just specs. Let's look at the camera samples. So here are some that I took using the primary camera in normal mode, and if I'm being honest, they may not be the best cameras in the price segment, but they're definitely not bad. Now the white balance keeps fluctuating though. Sometimes it's too magenta, sometimes a bit too blue, so that's a bit inconsistent. Interestingly, they did not look so good on the phone, but when I transferred them onto the PC, it actually looked quite better. Now, low light photos. Again, for this segment, these are acceptable for sure. You definitely shouldn't expect heavy processing of any kind to give you great results, but even if there's like a little light, the camera does its best to pick it up and give you a decent output. Now here are some indoor photos, and guys, there will be a link in the description for you to download these photos and check out the quality for yourself, so be my guest. Selfies, however, did not come out well. Aggressive processing, it beautifies my face too much, and it just did not handle the highlights too well. Now this is something OnePlus really needs to fix. Okay, video. Here's a sample that I shot using the phone. It can shoot only up to 1080p, capped at 30 FPS. So no 4K recording, which is a little disappointing. And though there is no optical image stabilization in these cameras, it does come with EIS, and that's still quite good. And there's also a dual video mode, so you can shoot, vlog style content. And there are some options in here that give you flexibility on how you wish to shoot. And now let's talk about that software. So it's running OxygenOS 13.1 on Android 13. It's a much refined version, smoother, and the UI feels more evolved, as you can see with this, newer notification panel, reorganized settings, and a couple of more tweaks across the UI. Notification panel now gives you extended access to certain functionalities like screenshot and hotspot. You can take a partial screenshot by simply long pressing with 3 fingers and dragging your fingers and then sharing that part only with whoever you want to. Let's say you want to set up a wallpaper. With inventive wallpapers, OxygenOS will make you more wallpapers, keeping the dormant color of your original wallpaper in mind, just giving you more options. You also have virtual RAM expansion to up to 8 GB, just to get you more multitasking capabilities. Yeah, so overall the UI feels really smooth. And OxygenOS in the last few years have been undergoing a lot of changes, some good, some bad, it's all debatable. But here's the thing, this has OxygenOS 13.1, budget series Nord CE Lite. The OnePlus 10T from last year still hasn't received OxygenOS 13.1 update, and that's a bit concerning. So this is something that OnePlus should really be looking into for all of its phones. Alright, now let's talk about battery. And this is where this phone really outperforms a lot of other phones in this price segment. So you get 5000 mAh, but then because it's powered by this really efficient Snapdragon 695, this is an easy 2-day battery phone. I mean, if you don't use your camera all day long or you're not gaming all day long, you would probably need to charge it just once in 2 days, and I think that is really good. Oh, and also it's got smart adaptive features. So battery's charging and discharging is managed in a way that the battery's lifespan is kept healthy. Alright guys, so overall, look, it's OnePlus, you can't really go wrong with it, and this is a pretty safe choice. But here's what I'll say. If display or cameras are your priority, you could look into some other options. But if gaming or battery life are your priorities, then the Nord CE 3 Lite is a really, really good choice. So that's what I'll leave you with. And that's pretty much it, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section. And as always, if you found this helpful, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell notification icon, and mark all. Really helps the channel grow. I'll see you guys in the next one.